Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. If this is your first time visiting my channel, please go ahead and click on subscribe and also click on that bell to receive all the updates and activities on my channel. Alright, so this is the next in the rebuild of the Ultra 680. In the previous video we installed the crankshaft into the case, installed the oil seals, and we sealed them. So it's been 24 hours since we initially put everything together. The silicone has set, and now we're going to go to our final torque on the case. So on the case, there are three different types of bolts. There's these guys right here, and these are set to 18 foot-pounds. There's these guys on the outside. These are 10, and the two big ones on the PTO side are 25. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the torque wrench to 10 foot-pounds. We're going to do everything to 10, and that will essentially bring these guys into spec. And then we'll ramp it up to 18. We'll do these to 18 as well as these guys, and then we'll adjust the torque wrench to 25, and we'll bring these to final torque. Okay, so everything is at 10. Now we're gonna set the main case bolts at 18 foot-pounds. And finally, we're setting the two main PTO to 25 foot-pounds. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and double check everything, setting back the torque to 18 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna go through the sequence one more time. Okay, so we have the engine straps installed. We're going to torque these down to 48 foot-pounds. Alright, so at this point, we're pretty much ready to flip it over and start putting on the accessories as far as the stator, the flywheel, the water pump, and the oil pump. Alright, so we have everything flipped over. So what you want to do at this point is you want to prevent anything from falling into the engine. So I'd take some shop rags, some towels, whatever, put them in the reed cages. Then put rags down by the connecting rods. So as you're working on it, nothing can inadvertently fall in. Alright, so now we're at the point where we're ready to install the stator. So on the case, there is a timing mark, which is right there. That corresponds with a mark on the stator, which is right there. So all you need to do is go ahead and take the stator, and you're going to insert it into the case, and then you're just going to line it up. So it's pretty straightforward. All you do is line up the two marks, and it's right there. So the next thing you're going to want to do is put in your screws, and you're also going to want to use some Loctite, just so that these can't vibrate out. And also what you want to do when you put them in, make sure you're using the right size tip. Don't use a number 2 or anything like that. You grab the biggest screwdriver that you have and use that to torque those down. Because the last thing you want to do is you tighten them. If you're using the wrong size screwdriver, you will strip them out. Alright, so go ahead and tighten those down. Just tighten them as much as you can with your hand. Between the Loctite and everything else, they're not going to go anywhere. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the flywheel and we're going to insert that. Alright, so on the flywheel, you'll notice that it's keyed. There is a corresponding key on the crankshaft. So all you got to do is just line it up and it'll draw itself in. Go ahead and make sure there's no stuff on your magnets before you put that in there. And remember, this is a magnet, so it is going to draw itself in naturally once you get the keyway lined up. Alright, so we have the flywheel on, the washer and the nut is on. I'm not going to torque this down right now because we need to get the clutch on the other side so we can prevent it from spinning. So right now that's just finger tight. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the oil pump. If you are going this far, buy the complete gasket set, because what it's going to do is going to include a new O-ring for the oil pump, so that'll ensure you won't have any leaks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put that on. Alright, so at this point we're getting ready to reinstall the water pump assembly, and just like everything else that we've done, we've surface prepped everything, cleaned everything with Scotch-Brite and WD-40. Make sure we have everything clean so when this thing goes together there's going to be no leaks. So we're just going to take a couple of our bolts here. Get it started. So now that we have all our bolts on, we're just going to run them down very lightly. Alright, so as far as the torque rating, there's nothing specific from Polaris in the service manual. So it's one of those things where you're just going to tighten them and not too much. Then what we can do is, once the engine's installed, if we notice that we have a leak, we can just go ahead and tighten it up a little bit more. And typically these don't have to be that tight because, again, this is for the coolant system. It's low pressure, so they don't have to be super tight. So then go ahead and grab your gasket or your O-ring from your kit. Go ahead and put that on there. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take the housing, I'm going to slip it over there and see how it feels. You should feel it being pretty snug as it goes over the O-ring, which it does. Alright, so the next step is we're going to put the gasket from the kit onto the water pump assembly. Line that up. Then you're going to bring the pump down on it. Okay. So now we're just going to go ahead and insert the screws. And just like before on the Stator, make sure you're using the right screwdriver for this. Now that you have everything lined up, go ahead and insert your water pump bolts. Start with the long one, and then the 3 shorter ones. And then go ahead and run those down just like we did before with the other bolts. And then we'll tighten them just like we did before. We'll do a snug. Alright, so at this point we have the water pump installed, the oil pump installed, the stator, and the flywheel. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments box. The next video will be the assembly of the top end, cylinders, pistons, and wrist pins and everything else.